Today, I wanted to talk about what I wish somebody would have told me about moving in with my partner uh, before marriage, because I could have prevented a lot of mistakes had somebody told me the consequences of doing so. And I think that everybody before moving in with their partner should know these things. So to begin with, I made a video on why I abstain for non-religious reasons, abstaining from sex before marriage, or slash before commitment. So if you want to go watch that, it's on my channel. But it kind of goes into one of the reasons why I think you shouldn't move in with your partner. Obviously, living with someone definitely encourages having premarital sex, and the problems with that are in that video. So if you want the reasons, go watch that video. The second reason I think moving in with your partner before they're committed to you is a mistake is because you're basically dealing with all the consequences of marriage without any of the commitment. And you have no stake in actually fixing the problems because you guys have no commitment to each other. As much as one party wants to fix some of the issues, the other person might not be motivated to because they could just think in the back of their mind, oh, I can leave at any time in some ways, even though moving in together actually makes it harder to break up in some cases. Um, while there isn't a commitment of marriage, and the commitment of marriage is definitely more of an incentive to fix your problems than it is moving in together. Moving in can also waste your time because when you're with somebody and they're not the one for you to be with the rest of your life, you're going to make excuses and delay that breakup because you guys are already moved in together, already sharing finances like you're married. You're already cooking for him every night. So it's really hard to break it off and detach from somebody when you're in that position. And you end up wasting a lot more time than you should have because now you're too committed to them. You're too much in the game. And that's a problem because there's no commitment to kind of secure that. So I think that it's beneficial to not live with somebody because live with your partner, because if they are giving you issues and things that you don't want in a relationship and they're not the one for you, you can break it off with them a lot easier, which is better for you because then you're not wasting time and you're getting closer to finding the person that's right for you. Um, I also think that moving in together, to go back to the earlier point, you're dealing with all these issues of compatibility with no incentive to fix it. So what that means is, maybe they're leaving their clothes on the ground, maybe they're leaving the bathroom dirty, and that causes a lot of tension to the relationship. And moving in with somebody often makes it so you guys break up and it damages the relationship. Hold on, this light's like really bright. So basically, you're putting all this strain on the relationship. You might end up breaking up because you guys moved in together because now the relationship's not as fun. You guys are fighting more because you're having to live together. And that's why they say marriage isn't easy. One of the reasons is because you have to live with the person and learn how to work with them. And you really want some sort of commitment before you do that with somebody. You're wasting your time potentially, and time, especially for women, is really precious. And the reason I say especially for women is because, people meme about the wall or whatever, and there's truth to it in the fact that biologically, I almost had a venti moment there instead of biologically. Bio- Biologically, we have a timer on our fertility, unfortunately. So we only have so much time to reproduce. And while, yes, male sperm decreases in quality after age 35 and sperm banks stop taking their sperm, they can still have babies after that age, and it's very hard for women to, um, especially by the time you're 40. So time for women is more precious in that way. So you really have to be careful who you're wasting it on because you will easily piss away your early 20s by moving in with your boyfriends. I know because I did it. I have personally lived with all of my ex-boyfriends. I'm a victim of serial monogamy. I have only been in long-term relationships, each one lasting at least 1.5 years. My first one was 3.5 years. And I think that a lot of the problems could have been potentially prevented had I not lived with them. And it caused a lot of tension without any incentive to fix them. So what happens? You break up. Even though breaking up once you live together is harder, um, again, they're still more willing to than if you're in a marriage. Now, obviously, you don't want to be married to someone you're not compatible with, but a lot of the time, people have an incentive to actually fix problems and work through them to be with you if you're committed. So, and they look at it differently. Like, this is my wife. We have to work through this because I love her. Versus you're just a girlfriend. It's like, well, I don't have to fix that. It's a laziness, and they take you for granted. I feel as though when you move in with your partner, they will take you for granted potentially, or maybe you're the one that will take them for granted. Um, I have found that I was taken for granted every time, so that's also another reason, and the relationship became less special. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, you should know your compatibility before you move in. Yeah, you should know your compatibility, but there's other ways to do that other than living together. And obviously, living together, it adds stress to relationship and it gives you a new perspective on who they actually are. And I understand the argument, but I just think the consequences are too much to move in with somebody as somebody who's done it several times with their ex-boyfriends. And this is coming from me when this coming from me, a person who is, I would say, was very clingy. I'm learning to learn how to be alone. There's difference between being alone, I guess, and being by yourself, because like one's a comfortability thing. But yeah, I'm learning to be comfortable with that. My clinginess was so bad at one point that I couldn't sleep without somebody next to me. My parents died when I was, my dad died when I was 15, my mom died when I was 16. So I had to move in with my boyfriend because of my ex-boyfriend, and that's why I lived with him at age 15. No, 16. It was 1 month after my birthday, my mom died, so I was 16. Um, so I went through that at a very young age, living with a boyfriend, and it was not a good experience. As much as I love my boyfriend to be around me, and I'm the type of person, I literally want my boyfriend to be around me 24/7. That would make me comfortable. I would love that. Like, even if we're silent, it brings me a deep sense of comfort to have somebody. I want to be alone with somebody. That's the best way to describe it. I'm introverted. I know it's like, oh, but you're YouTuber. I'm introverted anyway. This is just my job, but so it forces me to speak out more. And I'm certainly not a beta bitch, okay? But, point is, I prefer more intimate settings, right? Like smaller groups. And I don't like being alone, really. I'm okay with it, but I would prefer to be with somebody. So I would really like somebody next to me all the time, but I know that's not possible. So I try to be reasonable, obviously. And people have things they have to do in their lives. And I've learned that through time and gotten better with it. But, if you're a clingy person, look no further. And I'm giving you the reasons why you shouldn't live with your significant other, right? So, yeah, I would love to be alone with someone, but and I would describe myself as anxious attachment style, if any of you know about attachment theory. But even considering that and the amount of stress I get sleeping alone and how hard it is for me to sleep alone, I still think it's not worth the long-term consequence. And I think that not living with someone is also another practice of delayed gratification, just like how abstaining is as well. And I think it's beneficial as a skill to learn. I think it's good. And I think that even if you're lonely, you should just suffer through the time you have to be by yourself for that delayed gratification. And it'll be very worth it, and your relationship will be a lot healthier. And you'll get married faster. Because I see a lot of girls, they move in with their boyfriend and they're with them 10 years, no ring. And why would they get you a ring? They're getting the milk for free. Why buy the cow, right? So it kind of goes hand in hand with the abstaining thing. But yeah, I hope this video helps people out there if they're considering moving in with their partner. I understand that there's financial benefits to it and like the convenience of it. That's why I did it. I lived with my exes for years, but it's really not worth it in the end and can ruin your relationship. And if you really value your relationship, you should value it more than you sometimes feeling lonely. And I understand there's some situations where it's really hard to not live together. In those cases, you can try to take time for yourself, even if you don't want to and you're like me and you just want to be alone with somebody 24/7. Petals, stop. Just playing with my light. Such a little baby. Anyway, while my cat's being annoying, let me just wrap this up really quick. Oh my god, she is so determined to troll me right now. Even if you are... She's making me lose my train of thought. Even if you're lonely, you should still... and even if you're long distance, you should still not live together. Because... you can just get a place near the person instead as a good alternative. But if you really can't and you cannot afford it financially and you want to be around them, you don't want to be at LDR, take time for yourself. Even if you don't want to and you want to be alone with the person, go do something to get away from them. I know you don't want to in some cases, like for me, but you still should, because distance makes the heart grow fonder. I really wish Petals didn't troll me right now. I'm too lazy to edit it out. So enjoy Petals harassing Brittany ASMR. But yeah, spend some time apart, create strong boundaries, like have a common area and then have your own separate areas would be my advice if you absolutely have to live together. And hopefully, he gets you a ring and doesn't make you one of these TikTok girls that are like, I've been in a relationship 8 years and I have no ring. And then he ends up settling for you on year 10 and you're not even the woman of his dreams. And who wants that? Everyone wants true love. I shouldn't say everyone, but most functional people want true love, right? And settling for someone isn't that. It's not romantic. So yeah, those are my thoughts, and I hope that answers all of the counter arguments. And just understand, I'm coming from a place of having abandonment issues with my mom dying when I was 16. She single-handedly raised me. She was like my best friend. So losing her, being accustomed to sleeping next to her every night, and being accustomed to sleeping next to my ex-boyfriends every night. And I understand how much pain and suffering it is to sleep alone. But you have to learn how to do it, and you have to grow as a person. So I would still say, even though it hurts, you should suffer. Suffering can sometimes be a good thing and a good learning experience. And I understand reasons why someone would want to live with their boyfriend or girlfriend, and I don't judge them for it, because I did the same thing. And it's okay to mess up. Like, if you're already living with someone, you come to the conclusion, oh, wait, I shouldn't be living with them. It's okay to change your mind. And it's okay to take the distance you need to improve your relationship with them. You don't have to go into cognitive dissonance just because, like, oh, I can't admit that this is bad because I'm doing it, and that means I'm bad and I'm doing something bad. God, she's like a toddler. I wish I could show you guys her. She's so cute. You can find photos of her on my Twitter or on my Instagram. Anyway, I get it. I get the benefits moving with your partner, but I just wish that somebody would have informed me that living with my partner delays marriage so significantly, just like having sex with your partner in a relationship can. And it puts stress on the relationship. And even though people say, oh, well, you have to know how sex is, you have to know what it's like to live together beforehand, and it's like, yeah, but it just results in the relationship not working out a lot of the time, or stretching it out 10 years before you're married. And I just don't think a knowing the compatibility is worth it. And I think there's better ways to do that. There's more to relationships than sex, and more to relationships than just being around someone 24/7 as well. It's on multiple levels. If you look up the 5 ways to love, the love languages, there's like words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, gift giving, and acts of service is the 5th one. Those are all different ways to love someone, and not all of those require the person to be right next to you. And believe me, like I said, my first one, my most important one, is physical touch. I get it. But you just think about it logically. And sometimes you have to take your brain so that your heart can flourish. You have to let your brain function so that your heart can flourish. And I really hope that this helps somebody out there, because I really wish somebody would have told me. Maybe I would have ended up differently than I have now, but it's good that I learned my lesson, and hopefully it helps somebody else learn their lesson earlier on. Because I know there's girls out there, you know, they all think they're like Jeff Bezos' wife, right? It's like, oh, Jeff Bezos' wife stuck with him when he was struggling and living with him. That'll be me. And then girls end up wasting their 20s for some guy who they got nothing for it. They got nothing for being the mommy GF that gives them sex whenever they want, cooks for them whenever they want, without any sort of commitment, with no ring on their finger. So, you know, you're probably not Jeff Bezos' wife. I'm sorry to say. That's the unfortunate reality that women in their 20s need to know, especially in your early 20s, where you're wasting crucial time, precious time. And we really need to be aware of that as women, how much our time is worth. And also how much our intimacy is worth in general. Like, this is something I forgot to mention the abstinence video, but come to think of it, your intimacy is worth so much that people's virginity, women's virginity, sells for millions of dollars. So really think about that. Really think about how much your intimacy is worth. Think about how much your time is worth. And think about the potential consequence of ending up alone because you decided to go for convenience instead of delayed gratification. And you end up alone because the other person takes you for granted, and you're like, you know what, I'm worth more than this. And then you can't accept that behavior anymore, and you end up alone. So yeah, that's all I have to say about the topic. Hopefully I didn't forget anything, but I might have, because I'm just talking about it offhand. If you like the video, click the like button, and if you want to support my content, I have Patreon, patreon.com/BrittanyVenti, and subscribe. Share the video with another woman if you think she should hear it before she moves in with her boyfriend, or even vice versa. I'm sure this video can help men too. I'm sure you guys want your relationships to work as well. But anyway, I'm gonna go. Hopefully Petals doesn't keep harassing me. Bye bye.